Good evening, one and all. Welcome to Lemon Live at 5, the Don Lemon Show. We're so happy that you're here. You guys, you know we're happy that you're here. You know the routine. You know that you have to hit the thumbs up, the like, and subscribe. It's at the bottom of the screen near the Don Lemon Show logo, and our membership link is at the top of the chat. So make sure you do that because it does affect the algorithm, and more people become aware of our fastly growing, huge community, soon to be huger. All right? So, good stuff. And I want to get straight to it right away because we have lots to talk about. So as you know, tomorrow, maybe you don't, tomorrow is Donald Trump's 100th day in office. And he has a lot to show for it. Read it and weep. 100 days in office. I mean, does it feel like 100 days or does it feel like 100 years? I mean, it's crazy. Spiking inflation, trade wars, ongoing bloodshed in Ukraine and Gaza, a host of illegal deportations, and of course, a constitutional crisis. In short, sheer chaos, both at home and abroad. We have so much to reflect, I should say, on the first 100 days, on the eve of the first 100 days. And I'm grateful to be joined by the perfect guest. Here's David Graham. David, thank you, sir. Staff writer at The Atlantic, a friend of the show, also the author of the brand new New York Times bestseller, David, The Project, how Project 2025 is reshaping America. It's been a few months since we saw you. How you doing?
I'm hanging in there, more or less.
It seems pretty well with the bestseller. I mean, it seems like you're doing, and you know, the stuff that you are writing for The Atlantic is trending, and that's why we have you here. So, David, let's just show the folks. This is what David's one of his latest articles, and it's on Project 2025. The Project 2025 presidency, the blueprint for Trump 2.0, predicted much of what we have seen so far and much of what is to come by yours truly, or his truly, David A. Graham. So, David, let's talk. Project 2025, you guys predicted it. You knew what was coming. You got out ahead of it. What has been, for you, one of the most surprising things? What have you, in the first 100 days, what do you make of the first 100 days?
I mean, the speed with which they've moved has really impressed me. I thought that they would get a lot done, but I just didn't think they could possibly get as much done as quickly as they can. And I think a lot of that comes down to Elon Musk. But they are much further ahead in this sort of overhaul of the government than I anticipated. And I think than a lot of them anticipated as well.
Yeah. Overhaul of the government. The thing is, though, is it legal? Is it illegal? Like, what the hell? What scandal or scandals have you have surprised you most? Or
You know,
maybe not surprised you at all. I don't know.
I think that talk about something like deportations. On the one hand, it's totally scandalous that we would be deporting somebody who's a legal protected citizen. It's even more scandalous that we'd be deporting U.S. citizens. And perhaps I shouldn't be surprised. You know, immigration experts are warning us that when you have a kind of dragnet like this, when you don't have due process, you're going to end up with these kinds of abuses. But here we are, and we're seeing them, and it's shocking to see.
Yeah, I think the deportations, for me, that is a huge deal. And also, I think the cruelty with which they are doing some of this stuff, even looking at what they did on the White House lawn today. Did you see that behind the correspondents and the reporters? And someone on one of my social media sites brought up a very good point. They said Donald Trump is a convicted felon himself. Where's his mugshot on that lawn? First of all,
well, yeah, I mean, I think it's amazing to see. It's amazing to see them saying that people shouldn't have due process when Trump himself has relied so much on due process. You know, he used it to slow down his cases. He complained about the way the system worked. He used every one of his appeals, but he thinks that the law should apply to him, but not to other people. Clearly.
Let's talk about Project 2025. In one of your most recent pieces, you encourage Americans to resist the impulse, and I quote here, to think about Project 2025 as simply a laundry list of management tweaks and policy proposals. And you say it is a blueprint. You say it's a blueprint to, quote, transform American society in their image. Expand on that, please.
Yeah, you know, until I read all of Project 2025, I'd read bits and pieces, but until I sat down to read the whole thing, I don't think I appreciated how much of a system it is. And they really are not just trying to impose a lot of conservative policies. They're trying to change the way the government works. They're trying to change the structure of the government. They want to give more power to the president. They want to roll through these independent agencies. They want to shut down the federal bureaucracy, make it a lot smaller. And all of this is to get these policies, and all these policies are designed to change American society towards this very traditional heteronormative approach to the family. And I think it's really important for people to see it as this whole system and see it as this vision of society, not simply a list of policies.
I feel like the biggest story of the last year was Project 2025, obviously, but Donald Trump, as he does with everything. I don't know I know nothing about it. Project what? 2025? I've never met the guy. It's like, well, it's everything that he has now since we know now since. The other one was Biden dropping out of the race. That was huge. I remember being on vacation and we got the word, and we could hear people around us going, and we were in a foreign country going, oh, in different languages saying, Donald, Biden, and then we were like, whoa, okay. Every newspaper was writing about it. It was everywhere on cable and streaming. Why does it seem some Americans are so surprised by it?
I think that it's a couple things. One is that they did see it as this list of policies. And I also think that Trump really effectively did distance himself from it, which is a bit of a mystery how he's able to do that. I mean, there was polling last fall showing that the ideas in Project 2025 were very unpopular. Even the Heritage Foundation, which did it, their own polling showed that it was very unpopular. And yet people simply didn't believe that Trump would do these things. And now here we are. And Trump is doing these things. I mean, he's going right down the list. The executive orders come straight from Project 2025, and so does the attack on the bureaucracy.
One of the most interesting aspects of your piece is how you break down the fact that Project 2025 takes a very firm stance on just about every political issue, but the authors hedged on one in particular, tariffs. Dig into that for me.
Yeah, I think you can see some of the seams of the Republican Party where Trump has taken over so many aspects, but there's some places where, for example, the old school free trade fiscal conservatives still have a little bit of a foothold. And so you get a debate in Project 2025 between Peter Navarro, who is in the White House now, saying that we should have tariffs as a way of taking on China. And then you have another guy, Kent Lastman, who leads a conservative free trade think tank, saying, no, tariffs are a terrible idea and they're going to cost people money. So they can't quite come to an agreement on that.
In your piece, they can't quite come to an agreement on that. Can they come to an agreement on anything?
Well, I think they're in agreement on this very right-wing vision of society. That's the one thing that does seem to unite them.
Yeah. In your piece, you say there are two things to come that we should anticipate, and that is Trump's attacks to end any policies that acknowledge climate change. So we're not going to be talking about that, or we're kind of doomed. We've doomed the planet. And an examination-wide campaign to return America to, quote, an idealized pre-Roe v. Wade America. And that's what I think you said they agree on, right? Of becoming a conservative America. Talk to me about that second part, because that sounds frightening, really.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the heart of their vision. So they want to ban abortion, obviously, no surprise. But they also want to go to this kind of 1950s vision of family. They want families that are married. They want the father working. They want the mother at home with the children. They want religious schools teaching biblical principles. They want to push gay people to the margins. They want to write trans people out of the very language of the government and say that they don't exist. So it's a whole comprehensive platform to create this vision of society and to move everything through a biblical system, to put everything through faith-based organizations.
Yeah, I said examination wide, but it's my glasses. I meant administration wide. Hey, is that the fam? Is that your family in the background?
It might be, yeah. They're
That's great. Oh, we like that. We have dogs that bark and growl and they jump in sometimes. So we like the authenticity of it, and we like kids. Cool. How old is your kid?
We got an 8 and a 5.
Woo! Wow. How are you doing? I should ask you before. How are you really doing, Dad? Okay, let's talk about this. I want to talk about you and your conversation with Ashley Parker and Michael Shearer. They recently profiled President Trump, and I was actually shocked. They went to the White House. Jeffrey Goldberg, right? The Trump folks said Jeffrey Goldberg can even come. It shocked me because Trump was sort of raging at you guys. They were saying, oh my God, it's Goldberg's fault. The Atlantic is a piece of what. Been raging at your Atlantic colleagues for Signalgate. Why do you think he agreed? Is it because all publicity for him is good publicity, even when it's terrible?
I think that's a lot of it. I asked them this question: why do you think he talked to you? And part of it is I think he likes the idea of talking to a magazine he doesn't think is friendly, and then he wants to sort of show his dominance through doing that. I also think he has such a, they told me he has such a sense of winning. And so he wants to put somebody in front of him, whether it's Jeffrey Goldberg or whomever, and he wants to kind of win them over. So he turns the charm on. And they said, with most people, you're not going to shout at somebody and call them a lot of names and then turn around the next day and invite them over. But that's just how Trump operates. He's playing different audiences, and he doesn't have that same kind of normal approach to people that most folks do.
Here's something that I found interesting, and it's kind of saying what I just said. And that is that in your conversation, the idea that, quote, game recognizes game is brought up. It suggests that Trump referred to Signalgate as a success. Is that
That's
so?
right? Yeah, he's talking about how it was a success, and Jeffrey Goldberg said, "Well, do you mean it was a success in that we showed a vulnerability in the way your administration operates? It showed something you can improve upon." And Trump was like, "No, you dominated the news cycle for like 3 days. You dominated the news cycle." So you get a sense of exactly what he values. He respects somebody who can take over the attention and challenge him for attention in that way.
Yeah. David, what do you think about Donald Trump? These are historically low poll numbers. He is becoming more unpopular as the days go by. This morning, this is what my assessment is. And look, perhaps I'm wrong because I'm not there in Washington, but all of a sudden they had this sort of unusual, out of the ordinary press briefing at 9 a.m. this morning, and maybe it was a scheduling issue, I don't know, in the Oval Office, in the White House briefing room. Interesting questions, including, Shadur Sanders, why he fell from 1 or 2 to 5th place or to the 5th round in the NFL draft. But do you think it's because they're trying to get ahead of the narrative? Let's put it. This is a Drudge headline. I just want to show you, and then I'm just wondering if you think they're trying to get ahead of the bad news. But this is a Drudge saying historically unpopular, lowest 100-day score in 80 years, 39% approval, and then they say, where is the boom? What do you think is going on here? You think they're working hard to change the narrative? Because every time they try to change it, something worse comes out, or everyone keeps pointing out how badly they're doing.
I think you're right. I think they're trying to change the narrative. And they know that with this 100 days coming, there were going to be a lot of polls, and they had to know those polls were not going to be good. They see what's going on in the economy. They have their own polls. And so you see him giving an interview to The Atlantic. You see him giving an interview to Time Magazine. You see them doing this briefing. Trump learned in the first term that he could sometimes change the narrative, or at least distract attention, even if it was to something also bad. And if he could do that, he could keep people from really locking into anything. And I think we see him returning to that strategy once again.
Do you think the Steve Bannon, I'm paraphrasing here kind of, but I think he said something very similar, like just throw bullshit at the wall, I think he says an avalanche or a fire hose or whatever, and just get the sort of the media scattered and get them on to that. In the meantime, he's doing stuff behind, let's see, what do you call it? Sleight of hand, right? Not in eyesight.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part
working,
of it.
you think, or do you think people are like, okay, they're onto it and they've become, sort of immune and they're tired of it? I don't know.
I think it works in some cases, in some cases it doesn't. I think there's a lot that they're getting done. I think this sort of hollowing out of the federal government is happening, and a lot of people aren't seeing what's going on. But it's really hard to hide people's economic fortunes. If people can't afford the things they want at the grocery store, if they feel like things are getting bleaker for them, you can't hide that. They're going to notice it.
James Carville said, just Democrats should do nothing. And they should just stand by and let the MAGA administration and the Republicans sort of eat their own and destroy themselves. Does that appear to be working?
I'm not sure that's exactly what they're doing. I think that they, Trump is undermining himself, but you see Democrats, for example, going to El Salvador. You see them focusing on these issues. And I think that's important, not just as a matter of politics, but as a matter of morals. I mean, if we people who oppose Trump have to stand for something. And if deportation of citizens and deportation of people with protected status isn't that, what's the point in holding any kind of elected office,
Yeah, true. So then, as folks would say, then now what? Because every time we think it can't get worse, I spoke with Olivia Troy, and she said something. You remember Olivia Troy, right? She said something I thought was very profound to me that I haven't heard, but I think you might agree with, is she's concerned about what lengths they will go to get whatever Donald Trump wants accomplished. And she should know, she's been there. She worked with Mike Pence. She's used to work in intelligence and security and all of those things. And she said, that is the scary part, is what lengths will they go to? And so the question is, and how bad can it get? You should have some sense of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they've already talked about the idea of defying judges. They have tried to reduce rule of law, and I think once they break through that wall of rule of law, they can break the law in any number of things. So it's a really important thing to be watching. And they're seizing power. Project 25 lays out this plan for the president to have much more power. And the question is what he'll do with that power. He's already using it for retribution. He's using it to enrich his allies. He's using it to go after Democratic fundraising. So it's hard to know just how far it might go. It's only been 100 days, and that's really incredible.
So when you say increased presidential power, does that mean defying judges? It's not, I'm sure it's not explicitly laid out that way in Project 2025, but they are defying judges. Judges have been ordering them to do things, and they're like, no, we're not. Yeah.
Or
we didn't know. We just kind of, we had no idea. And, they just keep pushing it off.
How can we know?
Yeah.
Right.
How do we know?
Yeah. I mean, it's a mix. A lot of what they talk about in Project 2025 is defying Congress, taking power and rolling over laws that have existed because they think a law is unconstitutional. Their faith is very much in the Supreme Court. They think the Supreme Court will back them up so they can challenge these things, appeal them. They want to bring these test cases. And the question is whether the Supreme Court does in fact rubber stamp what Trump wants to do or whether they are able to back him down.
Wow. I mean, it certainly is frightening. How much of Project 2025 do you think that they have accomplished so far?
I've tried to quantify it, and it's hard to do because there's a mix of these, small little individual items and then these kind of bigger systemic questions. But we see a ton of the executive orders that come directly from Project 2025. We see federal bureaucrats being laid off. We see Schedule F to convert them to political appointees. So that's really a big chunk of this movement towards executive power. And so much of their game is just they want to get as far as they can, as fast as they can, because they know the pushback is coming. And so they saw these first 100 days as a really crucial period. And I think the speed with which they've acted and the breadth of their grab shows how serious they were.
And look, this is what is happening now. When you look into the future, these institutions and these government programs, USAID, the Department of Education, and all of those things that they are getting rid of or reducing, right, or making impotent, so to speak. When the next president comes in, or if they are, as they have been with some of these things, ordered to put those funds back or rehire some of the people, it's not as easy as just saying, okay, you're rehired or we're going to redo this thing. You have to build that over again. And there's also a brain drain that is going on in Washington, D.C., not just in Washington, D.C., but in the federal government around the country.
I think that's such an important point. You can't just put these things back. You can't restart programs. People are going to get new jobs. They're going to move on. They're not going to want to work for a president who they see as this capricious. And so, there are these studies that have been going on for years that are getting shut down. You can't simply pick those back up. You can't pick up research that's been going. So even if there are defeats for Trump in court, I think they've permanently transformed a lot of the federal government.
Yeah, and I think they permanently transformed, I believe, sadly, the corporate media, and I believe law firms, like going against law firms and threatening them and then getting the law firms to bend the knee. The same thing is happening with corporate media. If you look at this merger that CBS wants done, from Paramount, their parent company now, to Skydance, which is eventually going to buy it if Donald Trump doesn't stand in the way. So, it's just not just like federal jobs. They are having a profound effect on institutions that Americans rely on in order to keep the rule of law and to make the government as transparent as possible. I want to know what you think about the law firms, how they are sort of acquiescing, and also the media. Look at what happened with 60 Minutes, who I know they're going to settle soon. But look at what happened. The guy who had it quit, and
In Project 2025, Brendan Carr, who wrote one of the chapters and now is the head of the FCC, lays out this plan for how to use broadcast licenses and the threat of withdrawing them to pressure these companies. He lays out a plan for how to use censorship and how to shut down PBS and NPR. So they're very systematically moving through these important watchdogs because they know how effective they are, and they also know where the weak points are. And corporate ownership is very much one of those weak points.
Well, look, I love the work that you do. Very enlightening. And you guys are really doing it without fear or favor, which is what journalism should be about. And you're getting some great scoops, controlling the news cycle. So continue to do what you do. David A. Graham, a staff writer at The Atlantic and a friend of this show, also the author of the brand new New York Times bestseller, The Project, How Project 2025 is Reshaping America. Don't you do a podcast as well?
I don't. I've been on every podcast in the last week, it feels like, but I can't do it. It's too much for me.
Me? Or did we lose David? Is it my service? I didn't hear you, David. Perhaps. Yeah, there.
I've been on every podcast, I feel like, in the last week, but I am not smart enough to do my own podcast too. It's too much.
You're right. You're smart not to get involved with too much because I have too much on my plate, but somehow I'm still going. Thank you, David. We'll see you again soon.
All right.
Say hi to the kitties. All right. Appreciate it. All right. David A. Graham, everyone. Fascinating. I love that conversation. I wanted to get him in because, again, here we are on the eve of 100 days. And guess what? Here we are just a year into our brand new little entrepreneurship, our business here. I shouldn't say little, it's a big business, right? Here we are. And we have our sponsors. Support comes from this show today from Shopify. Look, tough to start a business. I know. I'm still learning a year into it, just a little bit over a year into it. What you got to do, if you want an LLC, if you want whatever it is that you want, single proprietorship or ownership, all kinds of things. What program, perhaps there are like even grants or stuff that you can get from the government. What can you do? How do you build an audience? How do you build a customer base? How do you make money? So, when we're young, we think about things like, hey, I want to be an astronaut. I want to be the president. I want to be a prince or a princess. But then as you get older, your dreams change from focusing on running the world or possibly being, an NFL quarterback. Maybe you just want to run a business. You want to become an entrepreneur. You want to take those skills and turn them into something real instead of dreaming of going to space or owning your own castle. Maybe you start dreaming of owning your own business. You're going to need a website. You're going to need a payment system. You're going to need a logo, a way to advertise to new customers. It can all be overwhelming and confusing. But thankfully, that's where our sponsor, Shopify, comes in. Love that. And it's true because you can turn your dreams into ching. That's what I just wanted to say. So look, we are going to start to get our merchandise store in, and it's going to be on a Shopify platform. Okay. And so I just want to share with you what Shopify can do. It is a commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world, and 10% of all e-commerce in the US, from household names to brands just getting started, it's Shopify, including our own brand. Untuck It is one of them. Allbirds is one of them, and there are more. So people are like, what do I do? How do I get a website? How do I design it? What can I do? They've got templates to match your brand style. They can help you with that. Beautiful, ready to go templates. What if I need a hand? You can get help every day with everyday tasks like enhancing product images, writing product descriptions, or generating discount codes with Shopify's AI tools created for commerce. What if people haven't heard about my brand at all? Shopify helps you find your customers and easy to run email and social media campaigns. And if you get stuck, 24/7 customer service, any time of the day or night, you can get in touch with them the click of a button. Award-winning 24/7 customer support. Okay, so turn your dreams into and give them the best shot at success with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/lemon. Go to shopify.com/lemon. Shopify.com/lemon. Okay, and then turn your dreams into ka-ching. Hey, Nikki, real quick. Some folks said that they had trouble with the shopify.com/lemon. Is it good now? Nikki, are you there? Okay. Nikki must be working.
I am here. Sorry, I was speaking with mute on.
Oh, okay.
Like a newbie. No, I reached out to them last week about it. Let me confirm and make sure it's all set.
All right, yeah, just go to shopify.com/lemon. You guys tell me if it works. Why don't you go there and see if it works? Okay. All right. So that's the Substack thing, but just go to shopify.com/lemon. Okay, so thank you. And speaking of the Substack story that I wrote, and I'm going to write another one. I don't know. You think we'll see. I'll ask the legends if it's too late to write about Shannon Sharp. because I wrote something and then I held it because some folks said, ooh, Don, oof, this one could get you in trouble because people don't want to talk about it openly. So we shall see. Let's bring in our lemon legends now. This is the highest tier of our membership. This is why we tell you to become a member, because you get to be on the show. So I have a list of the lemon legends who are up. I may not, guys. I'm just not. Oh, I do have a list. Andy, you're the best. So Andy has provided me a list of the lemon legends. Anitra Cooley is here. Camille Deering is here. James Brim is here. Kim Page here. Lyra Bray, the realtor, is here. Laria, Maureen Marfell, May Money, Michelle Baker, Monique Delaney, and Sarah Jones. Thank you, guys. How are you? I can't hear you guys.
Hanging in there.
We're
There you
good,
go.
Dawn.
Hey,
We're
okay.
good.
Hey, Dawn. How are you?
I'm great.
Doing well. How is everyone?
We're trying.
Riding the struggle bus, baby.
You know, I gotta say,
Hanging
I got the ultimate compliment this weekend. On Friday, I went to dinner with some friends who are very tough critics, and they said, Don, I love what you're doing. I've been watching, and I love that you point out people in the comments. You bring your community on, and a lot of folks are not doing that. They're just sort of doing a canned kind of podcast or streaming show. And so what they believe that what we're doing is, you know, a bit unorthodox and unusual, but in a good way. Do you guys agree with that, legends?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Agree.
Yeah,
Agree.
definitely. 100%.
1000%.
Trend setting.
Amongst ourselves for sure. I think
Yeah,
it's important. More people should start doing it.
Yeah,
It's a
because
great community, Don. Wonderful
Thank you.
community.
you guys don't have this much influence on any of the other shows, do you?
Oh, no.
No, I don't know.
They're
I don't even think
they're
they
all-
even read our,
yeah.
comments or anything.
The
Well, I
one that
do.
I do
The
have
girls
one,
do.
the damage report with John Idarola. He is very engaged with his audience, but that's the only one.
Yeah.
Good.
The
I'm
Seneca
good.
Project, Sarah Setmeyer and the girls, they engage with their audience a lot.
Good. You know, Tara's a friend of the show and also contributes to
Mhm.
the channel. So amen.
Yeah.
We love that. Okay. So where do you guys want to start? Do you want to start with his poll numbers? You want to start with, because he's very unpopular. We can talk about, if you want to talk about Shadur Sanders, we can talk about that. If you guys want to save it till last, I wrote something on my Substack. You saw that at donlemon.com. It takes you right there. Why don't I put this up? Let's put the Drudge thing back up, Andy, so we can show the folks. Drudge headline says, historically unpopular, lowest 100-day score in 80 years, 39% approval. Where's the boom? Now, my friends who are cynical about who are cynics, they will say, he has that much approval rating? But I mean, look, it's historically low, and I think he's second only to himself. So what do you guys think?
Needs to be 0.
Okay, who said that?
Luria, he needs to be 0 for a while. We need to be down.
Are you surprised at seeing that's even at 39%? But you're not surprised to see that it's an historic low, are you?
All of the above. I've been surprised that he even made it as far as he has. I've not been a fan since the 80s. And I'm not from New York.
Really? Talk to me about that. Why do you think he still has 39%, Loria?
Because I think, yep, I think that part, I think it's a cult. I think people have willful ignorance and they just don't want to just be aware. I mean, in the very beginning, I thought it was just, they're just dumb. They're hearing the wrong script. They're not paying attention. If they paid attention, they would do better when they knew better. It's just the human condition. They don't want to.
Who said it was a cult? Go ahead.
That was me, Don.
Is it
all
Money?
throughout no, that was me. Monique.
Oh, hey, Monique, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. It was all throughout his first term. The 33 to 39% never changes, no matter what he does. And those are his staunch supporters. He can do anything he wants, and that number never changes. The only time I've seen that number change recently has been what he's doing constitutionally. and breaking the law and not listening to judges. That's the lowest I've ever seen. I think it was something like there was only an 8% or 9% approval of people saying that he doesn't even have to listen to the Supreme Court. But most people are saying that he has to at least adhere to what the judges are saying. But that 30-something%, it never moves, no matter what he's doing.
Yeah, right on about that. I can attest to that, having covered it. So look, make sure you hit the like, make sure you hit the thumbs up, please, because it affects the algorithm. More people get to hear from our Lemon legends. Okay. Okay. So let's do this. James, I want to talk to you about the polling, because he's unpopular in not only with his strong suit, which is the economy, but also it appears in some way, we'll see if it sticks, that what he's doing with immigration is backfiring. I want to play something, and I'm going to get you to come respond to it first. This is from the Morning Joe on Trump's polling and unpopularity. Okay, here it's about 90 seconds. Watch.
100 days for Trump in office, and he is ringing that in with some very low marks. Let's go through some of them, starting with a new ABC News Washington Post poll, which finds just that 39% of Americans approve of the way Trump is doing his job. That's compared to 55% who disapprove. Back in February, mind you, those numbers were 45% positive and 53% negative. Trump's approval rating in this poll is lower than any past president at the 100-day mark of their first or second term. So this is historically low for President Trump. According to the Washington Post, Trump has seen a decline of 10 points among white people without a college degree, who, of course, are a key part of his political coalition. Trump's also down 13 points among adults who are under the age of 30.
Okay,
the Post
Andy,
also
pause for me, please. Why don't we take it one step at a time? Can we go back? What is the first number? And then we can get everyone to weigh in, because especially among white voters, that's
approval rating
important. So the first one was what? President Trump's job performance, 39% approved, 45%. It was 45% in February. 55% approved now. It was 53% in February. That's not much of a move, James, but still,
No.
It's going in the wrong direction.
I don't think he cares. I
You
don't
don't?
think he cares. No, not at all. He has an agenda he's focused on, and his cabinet is focused on, his cronies, and whether they're in the government or outside the government. And as your previous guest from Atlantic just said, this is no surprise. It's all spelled out in Project 2025. A couple of us here have taken pieces to Project 2025 and studied it amongst ourselves, and really compared and contrasted for some other projects that folks are working on. And I got education, and I was shocked. It's right in there. Everything that's there in Project 2025 is happening. And the difference is, with all of these executive orders that have been written, they're so layered that people don't realize it. Like, yes, it may say dismantle the Department of Education, and that's all anybody hears, but they don't realize that encompasses, free and appropriate education for special needs kids. It encompasses school breakfast for undernourished kids. It encompasses student loans and the Pell Grants and things for college kids. I mean, there's so much more to it that just can't be dumped on the states, because if they think their taxes are high now at the state level, wait until that all gets dumped down. But again, whole numbers, I'm not sure they even matter, Don. I just don't think they matter.
Look, I think one thing, maybe, I don't know, I have to think about it. I think maybe he doesn't now, but I think they're concerned about them. That's why they're trying to control the media narrative so much, especially in the two things that are important to him. So let's go to the next one that's up there. The next one was what, Andy? That was job performance, and the next one
under 20 or under 30.
Yeah. He's seen a decline of 10 points among white people without a college degree, a key part of his political coalition. He's also drawn down 13 points among adults under the age of 30, and 11 points among those who say that they did not vote. They said that they did not vote in November. Anitra, let me bring you in. Anitra, you think he's concerned? about, losing white voters? Do you think he's concerned about any of this?
I think he's
Say again.
I think he's delusional. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I think he's delusional. So in his head, everything's fine. Everything's good. His team is worried about it, but I don't think he is right now. I think he will if it sinks down a little further, but he doesn't care. He's not thinking about anybody but himself, and the consequences be damned, So as much as I'd like to believe it, the man is just not right. And the things that matter to normal people don't matter to him, in my opinion. And he'll just lie his way through it in his head.
Kim,
go ahead.
Should he be concerned about these numbers, especially among white people without a college degree? That's one of his strongest constituents.
I think his ego he can't help himself but care in a way. I don't know if you've seen, I haven't fact checked it, but I do believe it's right that he's raging over these poll numbers already.
Oh, really?
He's demanding investigations into the pollsters. So I think he's worried. He's raging
as he
should
over
be.
the
Yes, he is. Demanding investigation. And of course, what we need to be afraid of is that he's saying that it's going to be illegal, or he's going to call it treason, or he's going to pull all of, his word salad that he uses to go after people. And that's where we have to be concerned now. Don't you think?
Yeah. Don't you think he's going to start doing what he did? I think he sued the one, what's her name, guys? Remind me of her name.
The one out of Iowa. I don't remember what happened with that.
Ann Seltzer. Didn't he sue her? Did he sue her? I know that she resigned. Okay. He's suing the media companies. Don't you think that he's going to start suing the polling companies because he believes he's omnipotent and he believes his numbers are higher than what the pollsters are showing?
Absolutely. His ego cannot handle it, right? It's just the fragile ego cannot tolerate anything that goes against him. I mean, he's even mad at Fox News at this point. Which
that's ingrained in him. That's how he grew up. Deny, and put out your own truth. And that's what he's going to do here.
May Money, you have your hand up.
Right.
What say you?
Well, a few things. So, first of all, we shouldn't be concerned that he's concerned. Yeah, his ego he's probably crying like a little bitch right now, like about all sorts of stuff. But we shouldn't be concerned because we ain't gonna do anything. So he's gonna do whatever he wants to do. We have not done anything to stop this person. And so it's like, why do we care about what he's concerned about? Because we obviously aren't concerned about what we're not doing. Sorry, it's kind of loud in my background. So I'll try to project. But
you have a good what do you call it? Noise reduction, because we can't really hear it.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, I'm glad. But yeah, I don't know what should we be concerned about? We should be concerned about the inaction of how far that this is gonna go. That's what we should be concerned about. I don't care about his little ketchup throwing temper tantrums in the Oval Office because we're not doing anything about it. So that's what I think we should be concerned about is our inaction and the fact that we're just letting him just run amok all over. He's not following no rules. We should be concerned about how bad it's gonna get before we actually are okay, enough.
Okay, let's play it again now with sound, Andy.
Among white people without a college degree, who of course are a key part of his political coalition. Trump's also down 13 points among adults who are under the age of 30. The Post also notes that Trump is underwater among independents, a group that he just narrowly lost back in November. Among that voting bloc, 33% approve of his job handling, while 58% disapprove. Let's dive into the issues now. Some of the top ones.
Right, before we get to that, independence. Camille, a concern, or are you with the folks? It doesn't really matter, but his ego can't take it, so he just can't even stand the reporting of it.
Yes and no. And the pushback, the little bit of the pushback that I have is that this is where getting involved in your local politics is so
Mhm.
important. Um, I do think that his downfall will be his hubris. I just think that's inevitable. But to say that, we're not doing anything, I know that that can feel that way. But I think also when you are trying to fight your enemy, you have to start from the bottom up. You can't go right to up. I can't go to the White House right now, right? But what I can do is I can educate my fellow
You actually can go to the
constituents.
White House. You can ask to
Well, you
go
know
in
what
if
I mean.
you're a
Right.
constituent.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll let you in, right?
Maybe.
Go ahead.
But you know what my point being, like, I think that I know that I have seen a slight more movement in my community, because I'm taking a lot of action locally, and even little things matter. And I think we also have to really put the pressures on our local representatives, because guess what? They're looking at those polls too. And if you're going to put pressure on them, it really helps to do it at the local level. And I truly believe that, even, my husband is a civil engineer and he works with construction workers. He's talked to his construction workers, not even necessarily about the president himself, but more of like, um, about the tariffs, how things would going to affect them. I mean, you name it, Medicare, and they're like, wow, I can't believe that this is happening. This isn't necessarily what I voted for. And, my husband isn't going in there being like, you should have voted for Kamala. He's like, yeah, this isn't working out so well. And so I really believe that you have to start at the local level, Don, to make the difference, to get up to the higher level, to make, to, to consolidate more of what you can do, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. And
Camille,
I
can I push back on that though? Because like this dude is not listening to anything. He's not listening to
You're right. I'm
anybody.
not
So
saying
what?
he's not.
So I
You're
agree with you that,
100%
but
right.
that was like something that would have worked way back. I think we're way too far gone beyond this right now. I
Okay,
really
but
do. I think something really kind of sideways and crazy is gonna happen because I mean the dude is not listening to the Supreme Court. People are
I
disappearing. This
understand
is
that.
gonna
But when
get
you're
crazy.
working,
let
Like
her
I
when
respond,
get
you're
Money
what
Money.
you mean, but
when
like
you're
I get what you
working,
mean, but what
when
we're
you're
doing, we're working, but it's not enough. And I'm really
okay, but
afraid
it's
of what
not
is
Okay,
going
going
to
to be
take
enough to
let her
overnight.
stop
It
it.
respond, May
didn't
Money.
take
Let her
us.
respond. Go ahead.
It didn't take it. Project 2025 didn't take overnight. It took almost 30 years in the process of where they are now. Us pushing back isn't going to take overnight either. All these major movements didn't take overnight. Roe versus Wade, the women's movement, that didn't take overnight. Civil rights didn't take overnight. This isn't going to be something that is going to happen immediately. But if you work every single day in your local community and you push back and you push back, you might see a difference. And I truly believe that. And also, if you not attack, obviously physically, but if you go to your local representatives, I'm in a red state, okay? And I can see the pushback. I can see that they're scared. And does that mean that my local representatives or my congressmen or my senators are going to turn blue in 2 years or 4 years? Maybe not, but maybe 10 or 16. And that is because that's what they've done. That is what the Republican Party has done. I think the problem that the Democrats have done is that we've wanted to put a quick Band-Aid on a situation, whereas they have really put into this meticulous work of making all these horrific decisions in our life. It didn't happen overnight.
Okay,
I think you're
I want
right.
to
If
play
I could, oh,
something
sorry.
because these are people. I want everybody to weigh in, but I want to show this is what happens when you do something, right? I think you put the heat on your representatives. They will somehow, I believe, take it back to Washington and say, all right, we have a problem. Or someone from the administration, because they hate bad press, they're monitoring everybody, will say, all right, we got a problem out there. This is Mike Lawler in New York, holding it's about 2 or 3 minutes of him at a town hall in his conservative district in New York. Here it is.
make everything more expensive for us, kidnapping and deporting 2-year-olds who have cancer and sending them off. So my question to you, none of this is helping us. We're getting hurt. We in the community are being harmed by this. What are you doing to stand in opposition to this administration? And what specifically are you doing that warrants the label moderate?
Again, my record speaks for itself. I have been rated the 4th most bipartisan for a reason, which is a very simple fact, that unlike many of my colleagues, I actually do work across the aisle. I actually do sit down with my colleagues. There's not a single local elected official who can honestly say that I have not sat down with them and worked with them regardless of their party. There's not a single one of my Democratic colleagues in the Congress who could say that I don't do that. When it comes to folks, if you want me to answer the questions, let the question be asked and then listen to the answer. If you're just going to yell back and forth, the time is going to run pretty quick. So folks, when it comes to the economy, okay? We have an affordability crisis. This crisis didn't just start. We've been dealing with it for the last 4 years. Everything went up. The cost of groceries, the cost of housing. For instance, in Rockland County, the average mortgage cost went up $1,000 a month. That's over $12,000 a year on an annual basis, okay? And so what we're dealing with is trying to reverse a lot of this. What happened? What caused that? What caused record inflation? $5 trillion in new spending in the first 2 years of the Biden administration is what gave us record inflation. And so when you have record inflation, you have to be able to curtail inflation. So what happened? Interest rates went up, right? And that drove up mortgage costs. You have to be able to reverse that. So you bring down interest rates, you bring down spending. Right now, we are 36 trillion in debt. We are spending 7 trillion on an annual basis, with 2 trillion in deficit spending and 1 trillion in interest payments on our debt. At the end of this year, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act is going to expire. And
okay, infuriating, because these folks are in a bubble and they don't understand the sentiment that is happening out there. Number one, when he talks about the debt and the deficit and the spending, why did that have to happen? And by the way, look at the facts. Who contributed more to the deficit and the debt than anyone? Donald J. Trump. Why were we in this financial crisis to begin with? Because he fucked up COVID, because he handled COVID so poorly that it nearly sent our economy off the cliff. He inherited a great economy from Joe Biden that was going in all the right directions, and now it's gone off a cliff again. But the first time he inherited a great economy from Barack Obama, who, by the way, in his first term had to save it from, again, another Republican president who in fact did drive the economy off a cliff. And they said that we were days from going into, I don't even know what it is. Just not our economy just tanking and going into complete chaos, a place that we have never seen it before. So these folks, I guess they start at some place that is convenient for them, because what he's saying is actually not factual. He should be saying that to Donald Trump, and these folks in the crowd, I believe they know. So May Money and Camille, I agree with you. It's got to start somewhere, even if you think it's not making a progress or not making a difference. So, and I understand your point as well, May Money. It is frustrating, but change doesn't come overnight. Sometimes it is gradual and it builds. And you need to, the folks in DC, especially the Trump folks, they need to see this. And not only the folks in DC, but MAGA and Donald Trump supporters throughout the country need to see this, that people are going to their town halls and they are confronting, so to speak, their lawmakers in real time, and the media needs to push it out. That's all I'm saying. Someone else had something
I want to say. I want to
Yeah,
just close out on my thought. Like, so basically, like, I understand. I agree with Camille. Like, I'm, in Oakland working with my community and working with y'all and everything. Like, I definitely agree. It's not like we can just sit down and take it, but these people are moving fast. And I really do think that I'm just worried about how bad it's going to get to that point and that amount of time. It's only been 100 days, and I'm just scared for that. So that's just my concern.
I understand. And I love that. I love that you guys are debating and that you're talking, and we don't all have to agree. That's what isn't that the point of everything? Like, you learn something even if you don't agree with folks on things. Anybody wanted to weigh in on this? If you want to raise your hand, go ahead. Who's at the top right with the hat? I can't see.
Michelle.
Hi. Hey, go Michelle.
Am I good?
Yeah, go ahead.
So it's kind of to Camille and May Money's point, and I think Camille, I think Camille's absolutely right with we have to get started on the ground, and things are moving, to May Money's point, at lightning speed. I think that the overall problem is that enough people haven't felt the pain yet, because we're not even really there. We're there, we're creeping into it, prices are going up, but I'm seeing people who ran out and bought new vehicles because they were getting ahead of it, or they're shopping because they're getting ahead of it. The people that are feeling it the most are the people who are disadvantaged and don't have the loudest voices. And the problem is, either something really unfortunately bad has to happen for everybody to wake up, and I mean even people on our side that agree with us, because they're not paying attention on a day-to-day like we are. They're not staying as in tune, and so things are happening because they don't even really know what is happening. And if they're just watching it on mainstream media, they're not getting the full story, and they still are in that everything's kind of okay. It's not until a couple of weeks from now or a few weeks from now when we can't find things on the shelves, like in COVID, when you couldn't get toilet paper or you couldn't get parts. We're coming up on the summer season. Some of the people that maybe it'll hit a little more are those people out there with their boats that they can't get out on the lakes because they can't get the parts, or the swimming pools that break and they can't get the parts, or or groceries are so expensive that you don't want to have that 4th of July party, because it's the things that seem frivolous, but when people hurt a little more, maybe they'll start showing up and fighting with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say, I completely agree with that. And I think that's a really good point.
Who's that? Oh, Camille.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Who's got their hand up?
Monique.
Hey, Monique, go ahead.
And also, if you want to take any kind of a positive from this, the fact that we have the blueprint, we know what's going on, right?
Don't think about
They're
that.
not in the shadows anymore. If you've read Project 2025, you know exactly what they're doing. So we can formulate a defense. I read all 924 pages of it. I stopped reading the novel that I was reading in order to read that. And if you're armed with the knowledge of what they're doing, you can commit to a defense. You take one thing at a time and gather with your community, gather with your local lawmakers, and you learn how to fight each and everything that they are trying to do. They're trying to dismantle our Constitution, our government. They're trying to take us to a very dark place. And I, for one, won't sit still and let them do it without a fight.
Laria, do you want to get in?
Hi. Yes, I think I kind of was adding this comment, and I agree with everyone. I'm so thankful for this community. There's just been a consistent complacency for a period of time that has allowed us to get to this point where no one's paying attention and is very kind of insular, and until it affects them, it won't be their attention, excuse me. So I think it was on this platform that I heard, I voted for you, you voted for yourself. And I think that's just very selfish. So there's just an epidemic of selfishness, really.
Yeah. I don't want to forget about Sarah and Maureen. You've been awfully quiet, Maureen. Go ahead.
I want to talk about my own community. I'm actually obviously in a very liberal area in San Mateo County, San Francisco, but I know my family up north. I see it in family, friends, and community. I do see changes. People are speaking up. I do worry about a little nephew who has autism, and I'm hearing terrible things occurring in the medical area, things becoming costly. I have another little nephew who has a heart problem. And I'm hearing from Anitra that the equipment is becoming very hard to get to keep him safe and monitored. So these are the real things in my own life. But then hearing other parts of the community, and of course, this wonderful community we have, everyone's suffering. And I do think we are starting to see the cost of groceries going up for sure. Everything, not able to get what we need. I'm not stepping down. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to take it. And I know the people that are here today, all of you wonderful people, you've provided us with that community, Dawn, and we're not going to give in. No way.
Thank you for that. Let's talk about some of that. You just mentioned not being able to get some things, and then we're going to get, I think Sarah and Andre haven't weighed in yet. Okay, so I want to get you guys to weigh in. But I just want to show you what's happening. Like you're saying, not being able to get some of those parts, right? Businesses not being able to get things, and the tariffs. The tariffs are weighing on small businesses and big businesses as well. What do you guys think is a better example of that? Is it the Aaron one, Peter, or do you think it is the Martha Raddatz one?
I think both are strong elements. I think that the Aaron delves more into the math and sort of the economics that we can expect over the next few months. I think that the Martha Raddatz is more personal and feels.
Let's do the personal.
Got it.
Yeah. Let's do the personal one. Let's go.
Former Marine Corps pilot and combat veteran Barton O'Brien first heard President Trump's promise on the campaign trail to tariff imported goods. He worried about how it would impact his own thriving specialty pet gear business.
I did an analysis and realized that would pretty much put us out of business.
O'Brien is the founder of Bay Dog in Maryland, whose signature products, dog harnesses and life jackets, are made overseas, which would mean Trump's tariffs raise the cost of all his products. So O'Brien figured he would get ahead of it just in case.
We borrowed as much money as we could. We accelerated all of our production runs, and we brought as much inventory, almost a year's worth of inventory, into the country before the tariffs took effect.
Inventory like this, 132,000 harnesses, leashes, and life jackets lining this warehouse floor to ceiling. Goods ready to hit retail stores where consumers can still pay their normal prices. But the problem now, O'Brien ordered products for the fall as well. But getting them here from China would be a huge expense.
So we have $150,000 worth of dog harnesses sitting in our factory right now. And with the current 145% tariff, it would cost me $217,000 just to bring it into the country. So I'm actually better off just lighting that on fire and taking the loss than I am trying to bring it into the country.
If tomorrow they say, look, we've got this all straightened out, we're not going to have these massive tariffs, have you still taken a hit?
Even if you turned off the tariffs tomorrow, everyone would try to ship all at once, and then shipping costs would go way up, and that would translate into price increases.
O'Brien understands President Trump's rationale that tariffs could help bring manufacturing back to the U.S., but he said for his customers, it would mean higher prices.
This product, which is our most popular dog harness, if I made it in America, would retail for about $114. Right now, it retails for about $34. With the current tariff, it'll drive, for me to break even, it drives the price up to $86.
And that would only be the case if his business even survived.
I would have to spend about $1 million to build a production facility. I don't have $1 million. I also have no expertise in how to do that. All the machines I would have to buy are made overseas. And then if I were to get it set up, it would take about 18 months, over which time I would probably go bankrupt.
So there you go. And there, folks. I mean, look at who's got the headphones on. Who is that?
Who, me? Sarah?
Hey, Sarah, you haven't weighed in.
Hi.
Sarah, I mean, welcome. Sarah, and people are still making excuses, and that is a real life thing. I don't know if you've heard me, you guys, when I say it's going to take a little while. He says it's going to take a little while. It takes years to be able to build the infrastructure, to get the workforce and all of that, to make everything here in America. And it's just not practical. Some things we don't want to make, some things we want to outsource. So anyway, what did you think of that?
No, I thought I was like, everybody, that's like the common theme of everything. And I want to kind of like share Maureen's sentiment from before, because I have a father who, you know, he's a little bit older, my little daddy. But you know, he had foot surgery, and he was on a scooter. Now he's on a walker. I know, long story short, guys, but you know, we go to his doctor's office and we go like every Friday, and there's usually nobody in there. And then all of a sudden, once the tariff thing kicked in, let me tell you, that doctor was getting everybody literally and their mother in and out of that office. And I never saw it so packed. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? And he said, look, you know, with the tariffs, all of the medical supplies are up over 50%. My father is on Medicaid. He can't afford this. And then I look at him and I like want to die on the inside. I'm used to being the rock of the family. And I'm like, how am I going to help my father get through this? I can't even help my damn self sometimes, you know? So like, it's a real thing. And a lot of us are feeling it. And, you know, as we're talking about helping our communities and everything, it's like that. I'm so passionate about that. But also, like, if my stress level gets any higher, I don't know. I got this little necklace to try to breathe. It's not helping. Zen my ass, but whatever. I'm like really struggling. Like I'm struggling and I'm trying to get through it. But like, I'm so glad that I'm here, because I know so many people are feeling it. And this is the real shit that's happening. You know, that's kind of where it is. And I just look at my dad and I feel so bad. And I gotta fight for him. And, you know, that's all. That's all, I guess.
We're sorry. And a lot of folks are in that position. A number of folks are dealing with people who are aging and now concerned about Medicare and Medicaid. Andrea, before you weigh in, may I play something for you to respond to?
Yes.
Okay. So let's play. This is from Aaron Burnett. But what I wanted people to realize is that from this is that when I say it's easy to start this sort of tariff thing and throw us into a recession and a shortage, but it's hard to get a supply chain back on track. And I think Aaron really sums this up in a very visual and easy way for us to digest it. Here it is. Do we have it, producers? Aaron Burnett?
Yeah, it's not playing. Stand by. Give me 10 seconds to re-import.
All right. So we need 10 seconds. By the way, let's play this. No, I'll wait. We'll wait. Who else hasn't weighed in? Is someone else not? Is everyone weighed in except for Andrea?
We've got it. Yeah.
You got it? Okay, let's play it.
This is something you pointed out. Okay, it's something called blank shipping, right? All right, blank shipping. So I'm just going to draw a container ship, blank sailing. I'm not going to put a sail on it because it's a big cargo ship, but you got a big cargo ship here. Okay, usually it's full of cargo on the top. Beginning of the year, these ships leaving Asia, 0% of them were skipping ports. They were going to every port. They were picking up what they had. Containers were full. 100%. Okay, now 40%. These are the numbers you're pointing to, Dan. As many as 40% of these ships. Guess what?
That's
okay.
Bypassing ports, and
bypassing ports. So
inventory is down 40%.
And ships have to go when they have to go. You can't just sit around and wait. So they're going with just a few containers on them. These half-empty, who knows what, from 0% to 40%.
And just think about what it's going to look like over the next week, 2-3 weeks, 4 weeks. And that's why deals need to get done, because this is what business leaders from e-commerce, across every industry are basically saying, like, time's ticking, and guess what's going to happen? Shortages, massive price increases, and that's where, look, we just talked about, for the U.S. consumer hasn't seen it yet.
No.
It's come. Look, remember, it goes back to it's like being on a beach, and all of a sudden, like, you're in the ocean, there's no water. You're like, oh, this is crazy.
I'm gonna run out and check it
I'm gonna
out.
run out. You're like, no, it's because the tsunami's coming. So the point is that the reality is that he needs to get deals done.
But because this question, Peter, that I'm trying to understand. With China, a deal doesn't just happen with a snap and a finger and a go. I mean, at least there would be nothing to indicate that that's
basically
how it's
that's it. But that's explaining. And I think a real visual, it doesn't just happen with the snap of a finger. I think he thought that he could bully China and Canada and all of these people into just backing down before any of this happened. And they're all saying, you know, F you. And China's like, I'm not going to do it. So now Marco Rubio's out here saying, we're got to make a deal, blah, 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 blah. But they're going to start feeling it. Two things. Number one, when I see that gives me angina because that was my studio for like 5 years. And I go, it starts bringing back like some good memories and a lot of bad memories. But then also, you know, it just makes you wonder, like, what are they thinking when they do what they do? Because as everyone has been saying here, Sarah said, I got to take care of my dad who's older. Small business owners are saying, look, you heard the guy say, I would need $1 million in order to do what he wants me to do within the next year.
Well, first of all, Donald Trump, he doesn't have anything to think with. Again, we have to remember all of his businesses have failed. I think if we continue to protest, I was in Seattle this past week, and the one thing they were doing was protesting. And I spoke with a couple of DEI per se employees, and they said their governor, Bob Ferguson, is going to stand with them. He's not going to let Trump take over Washington State. I think if we continue to fight back, continue to do what we're doing, I know it's going to be difficult. It's going to be hard, and I hope you stocked up on things that you actually need. I think we're going to win.
You do?
He's not going. Yeah, I think we're going to win. And right now, with Kim Jong-un going over to Russia to fight Ukraine, all of this, Trump is working with Putin, and people have to get that. And Putin is working with China, you know. So Xi, he has all of this all in his palms right now because everything you buy says made in China, made in China. Trump's going to lose this. You're going to watch him lose this like you watch him lose everything else.
Let me show you guys something that ran on MSNBC. And it talks about the reality. I love receipts, and I always say it's arithmetic and the numbers don't lie. Okay? So, and you know how I tell you that Democrats are better for the economy, but there is a perception that Republicans are better, Republican presidents. It's 100% not true. Do your research. Look at the history. Okay? And this shows, let's just look at the stock market and look at the difference between Democratic presidents and Republican presidents. Now, I want you to look at what Bill Clinton had and what George Bush inherited, and look what he did with it. Okay? So George Bush tanks it. Barack Obama comes in. Look what he does. He builds it back up. And then look what happens under Donald Trump. And then Donald Trump leaves office and Joe Biden doubles what Trump did with the stock market. But yet you would think that Barack Obama and Joe Biden were terrible for the stock market, terrible for stocks, terrible for the economy, when in actuality, the shit ain't true. Perception is reality. They tell a better story than the Democrats. The Democrats need to get their story out there. For some reason, it does not stick. And then now look at Donald Trump's second term. Now, you tell me, when you guys look at the actual math, even if you are a Trump MAGA sycophant and you have MAGA brain and you want to believe everything Donald Trump says, can you please just look at the math and the arithmetic? The numbers don't lie. Legends, have a go.
They sure love the color red.
Maybe that's it. Go ahead.
I'm looking at all the things that are going on, And I want to mention, we're going to host the world in 2028 for the Olympics. We have to build stuff. Nobody's going to want to come here. Nobody's going to want to go through all this. So we're going there. I'm starting to see the shelves are emptying. I'm starting to see, all different stuff. And everybody's right. When we get down to the bottom of everything and people start to feel it in their pockets, and when Christmas comes and Johnny's baseball bat is $55 just for the handle. Okay. And they can't buy anything for all their nieces and nephews and the things we need in the house because the salad shooter is great, but the piece comes from China, so we can't put it back together. So we got to buy a whole new one that's not available. And the guy that made all this stuff in his shop and bought all this stuff, the only problem I see he's going to run into is he's going to need people that can afford to buy harnesses and things for their dogs. Because people are going to buy the bare minimum. So it's getting ready to be a crisis, and it's coming fast.
Wait till they can't get those Sony PlayStations or whatever the kids are playing now. Or it costs them $1 gazillion in order to be able to get it. One more thing that I want to put up before we get out of here, guys, because we've been on for over an hour. Look at what was at the White House today. Now, tell me what you think of this. This is on the White House lawn. Here it is. Look at that.
It's so sickening.
Yeah, he forgot one name.
He forgot his own mugshot.
He forgot his own name.
It's in the White House, though. It's outside the Oval Office.
Oh, that's terrible.
Somebody needs to.
Hey, this is the type of shit I'm talking about right here. This is moving too fast. Like, we don't got time. We need to hurry this fighting back process up, because we will not be able. The damage that could be done by the end of 4 years might not be recoverable in our lifetime. I'm telling you that.
Well, in a couple of months, it's going to be a fight back anyway, because you won't be able to get anything. And people, they're going to be hungry. I've said this from the beginning. People are not going to have food. They're not going to have diapers, They are going to go against him. The Supreme Court is saying they got to vote against him. They're going to stick together. They're going to vote against him eventually.
Well,
look, that's again, propaganda 101 on the White House lawn.
But he did forget one convicted felon, and that's
he sure
himself.
Did.
And then still has charges waiting or pending until he leaves office. We'll see if
That's what I see. Yeah, his mugshot's hanging outside the Oval Office. He's
proud
proud of it.
He's proud of it, but why shouldn't these folks be proud of it? You know what I'm saying? It's such
It's bizarre, but that's bizarre. Just look at that's just beyond.
You know whose idea that was? That was probably Stephen Miller's idea too. That's all I have to say.
Had to be. Nosferatu himself.
All them motherfuckers need to go to jail. All of them.
We've turned from a society of classes to a society with no class. It's that simple.
No.
Legend.
1000%.
I love you guys.
Love you.
Love you too,
See you guys again. We have another private stream. We have another private stream on another private stream on Thursday, and then again we'll have our with you guys our exclusive on next Monday. But did you guys just by show of hands, anybody pay attention to the draft this weekend? The NFL draft. Would just yell at? What'd you guys think about it? Was it some bullshit? Or you thought it was fair? It doesn't matter to me.
Some bullshit. Don,
It wasn't fair.
Don,
It wasn't fair.
listen to Bomani Jones' podcast, and it'll clear a lot of things up for you.
Oh, I got to get Bomani on. He's a friend. Thank you for that reminder. I will. Yeah. I will. You guys, and so go to donlemon.com. Yes, if you haven't. Yeah, Angela's a friend as well. If you haven't read my Substack, just go to donlemon.com. I think some of you have read. I think Maureen, you weighed in on it, and some other folks weighed in on it as well. I think May Money, you may have weighed in on it. But go to donlemon.com, check out the Substack, read it, and I appreciate your comments. Okay, so legends, you're the best. Peace out, as they say. Okay. Have a good one. Okay, that's the legends. That's the highest tier of our membership. So when you get to that level, you get what you pay for, because you get to come on here and you get to be just like any other correspondent, any other analyst, any other guest on any other network or on other channels that folks don't get to be. They don't get to do that. And not to speak as that long and just weigh in and tell me to shut the hell up or whatever. But that is the highest tier of our membership. So we appreciate all of our members as well, even the lower or the middle or whatever level you're at. So thank you for becoming a member. We want to welcome our new members. Make sure you hit the like button, the thumbs up button, and make sure you subscribe to the channel. So welcome to all the new members. Thank you so much for joining us. You know how much we appreciate it. And I just want to say, what an amazing community that we have built here and we're continuing to build. So as I always say, oh, by the way, check out the 8 o'clock thing, because I'm going to talk about the draft. Check out our 8 o'clock drop tonight. And this, I believe it will redirect you from here. You
Yes,
can get
it
a
will.
notification. And then we'll see you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. live for Hot Topics. In the meantime, turn the TV off. Thanks everyone for watching. Your support means the world to us. So make sure you hit the like button and you subscribe to our channel to make sure that you never ever miss a video. We're live every day, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We drop even more content at 2 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Eastern. And if you want more Don Lemon Show content, we'd love for you to become a member of the Lemon community, where you will receive access to special community posts. You'll get exclusive content and members only live shows. So head over to our channel page or click the join button on this video. Again, thank you for watching. We appreciate your love and your support, and we will see you next time.